And we're back talking about the Russia-Ukraine situation. Before the break, I had to cut Yaroslav off there. You were responding to this notion that Putin has put out there that it was okay for him to invade Ukraine because he claims that the country is run by drug addicts and neo-Nazis. Maybe just if you want to finish up your thought there.
Sure. Yeah. Just a reminder: when the war started, Ukraine was the only country other than Israel that had a Jewish head of state and a Jewish prime minister. But beyond that, during the Euromaidan protests, remember those about 8 years ago, just before Crimea was annexed, they were pushing the same line: we're saving the world from anti-Semites and neo-Nazis. I was talking at the time with Joseph Zissels, who was the president of the Ukrainian Jewish Congress and vice president of the World Jewish Congress. At the time, in every single interview, Yosef would say, this is so absurd that if you look at the statistics, he had them, Ukraine actually has the lowest incidence of anti-Semitism anywhere in Europe. It was way higher in France, way higher in Germany, way higher anybody else. So it's a completely garbage, fabricated pretext.
If I could jump in very quickly.
Sure.
I'd point out that one of the key parts of the sort of the Russian playbook for disinformation and also undermining foreign governments is basically pushing far right sort of groups across Europe and North America, that they are quite flagrant in their support of these groups in order to sort of achieve their efforts to undermine our governments. So, I mean, this whole concept or idea that it's because of Ukraine and their neo-Nazi sort of efforts is quite ridiculous.
Yeah, ironically, countless Russian prisoners of war have been found with swastika tattoos on them, like one after another, after another, after another. So come
on. Yeah, certainly doesn't make a lot of sense, I think, for most viewers, but nonetheless important to address that. I want to shift gears and talk about the status of Ukraine today. Like I said, it's been 500 days since the invasion. We've certainly seen a lot of footage, devastating footage on TV and newspapers and so forth. Maybe Yaroslav, I'll go to you. What kind of shape is the country in? How much of it is impacted by this? Any stats or figures that can really help communicate what's going on over there?
Well, it's been impacted in different ways depending on where you are. I mean, the whole country has been very impacted. It's already lost about 7 million people who are displaced, and many of them are taking shelter abroad, for example, in Canada, many in Poland and in many other countries. In terms of people movement, huge impact. But on a more specific level, on a closer to home level, entire cities have been bombed to rubble. Cities like Mariupol was bombed almost to the ground. More recently, Bakhmut, which was a significant industrial center in eastern Ukraine, it doesn't exist anymore. Still big fighting going on there, but it is smoking, smoldering rubble. So entire cities have been razed to the ground in the ways we haven't seen since like the bombing of Dresden or the bombing of Coventry during World War II. This is all-out war on a scale we haven't seen before, with total cities being wiped
out. I want to get to the human toll, those who are not wearing uniform, and the potential for war crimes in a moment. But Richard, I want to shift gears now and ask you about the other side. What have been the tolls to Russia? Can they keep this going? What's been the impact of their military?
Well, certainly their military has been utterly racked. Most of their top line divisions have been hollowed out. Their top end equipment has been basically destroyed on the battlefield. You have a large amount of conscripts basically being put in as to reinforce these hollowed out units. Their ability to actually wage war, sustain it, they've been able to sort of keep it going. But if you compare the sort of the military that they had prior to the invasion to now, it's dropped down significantly. And really their ability to sort of do anything more than just hold on to the gains that they've sort of taken is pretty limited.
Yeah, many analysts consider their military to be, quote unquote, combat ineffective. But the one advantage that Russia has is bodies. They keep throwing fresh recruits to the front in what many call a meat grinder. They did a lot of this during the Second World War, and you can still do a lot of damage just by throwing bodies to the front, even if they're not equipped, even if they're not armed.
How much longer can they sustain this?
It's a good question. I mean, you see their society is fracturing in some ways, but I mean, Putin has been able to sort of maintain his grasp on power, and I think that's a key consideration, is that they've been able to sort of identify ways to actually supplement or sort of find alternative sources to support their government or their military, but it's an open question. And people have said that they would have collapsed after months, and they seem to be able to do it significantly longer than that.
Okay, and we'll be back more in just a moment talking about the Russia-Ukraine situation.